I took a Chinese class for fun, and I think the people who are the biggest talkers did the worst. They did the worst because they're just not natural listeners. They want to get their point across. They want to talk.
When it comes to Farsi and Arabic, were you more quiet than the others? Meaning, like when you were speaking Farsi, was the native speaker speaking most of the time, or were you?
Oh, good question. No, it's always the same. My acquisition is always the same. I always want my language parent, my trade, my partner speaking 90% of the time. 90% of the time. It's all about listening. It's all about listening. If you're a language student out there, you want to do 90% listening, 10% speaking.
Exactly.
You know that language is a product of input, not output. So speaking is basically a waste of time. It's fun.
Yeah,
we do it all the time. I'm doing it right now. It's like baking. You know, when you bake a cake, you spend hours and hours and hours and hours baking the cake, and then what do? You eat the cake. Speaking is the eating of the cake. When you're speaking, that's the fun part. That's the fun part, is the speaking. But it takes hours and hours and hours of listening. So every one of my languages, I don't know how I discovered this. Maybe I just remembered my experience in the restaurant, my Mexican, Salvadorian, Guatemalan, and Honduran friends doing most of the speaking. It just naturally occurred to me that, hey, I need to listen. I need to listen. So, you know, I hate to say it, but a lot of people I know who speak languages poorly are big talkers. In my opinion, they talk too much. And I've watched people. I took a Chinese class. I took a Chinese class for fun, and I think the people who are the biggest talkers did the worst. They did the worst because they're just not natural listeners. They want to get their point across. They want to talk. And maybe they're just super extroverts. And you know, language class, you almost need to become an introvert in the class.
Yeah.
Being an extrovert is great, but you need to come back and be the introvert in the class.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense actually, and I think that's where the idea of crosstalk comes into play as well. So it's basically the idea of, like I explained it many times, but it's basically through like a language exchange, like you're talking about, but throughout the entire hour, 2 hours, you know, however long it is, both people are speaking in their native language the whole time.
Okay.
Right?
I do the same thing.
Okay. So instead of 90-10, it's 100-0, right? Well,
100-0?
But meaning that, for example, if now you're going to speak English the whole time and I'm going to speak Spanish the whole time, right? So we're talking about a certain topic, but when it's my turn to speak, I'm using Spanish, but you're replying English.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right, let's pretend. I'm a little confused.
Okay.
You speak Polish. You speak Polish. You live in Poland.
Yeah.
I speak. Okay, let's say we're doing a Polish-English crosstalk. You want to learn English? I want to learn Polish.
Right. So
we flip a coin. Let's say Polish for the first hour. Okay, so who's going to speak Polish? You're going to speak Polish, or I'm going to speak Polish, or we're both going to speak Polish?
Yeah, perfect. So no, the idea is the entire hour we're going to speak both languages. So like in a normal conversation, whenever it's your time to speak, you're using English. Whenever it's my time to speak, I'm using Polish or Spanish or whatever.
Okay, I get it.
And you know, by realizing that your answers make sense, I know that you understand what I'm saying, and vice versa.
Interesting.
So instead of half an hour in Polish, half an hour in English, it's an entire hour with both languages combined.
I like it. I think I've tried it once. I'm sure I tried it once.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you would speak Polish 100% of the time, and I would speak English 100% of the time. You call this crosstalk.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. Okay, maybe next time I do a language or acquire, maybe if I jump back into Farsi, I'll do that. Sounds interesting. I don't know if I'd like it or not. I've never tried it. I mean, I've tried it probably once.
I think you would. It's it's a bit weird at the beginning because when the other person speaking in English, in your case, my natural reaction is to reply in English, right?
Yeah.
But once you get used to it, it's fun because the good part about it is because you know you're going to reply in your native language, which you don't have any issues with.
Yeah.
When the other person is speaking, you're fully focused on what the other person's saying. You're not thinking about what you're going to say next, right? So it's more relaxing in that way. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'll try it.